I am a poet laureate, and you guys watch The Office. Michael Scott, when he gets financial problems, he runs out and he yells, "I declare bankruptcy," because that's all there is to it. So I was going to say, I declare myself poet laureate for life of Oshkosh. But then, by those rules, Patrick can come up after me and then take it from me, I guess. So I'll begin tonight with a poem, something I rarely do, which is share a poem that I wrote just a couple days ago. And we had to find out what the snoot, what that fleshy piece of skin on a turkey is. It goes over their beak. I'm sure you probably know, Joyce, right? It's a snood. And so when they're want to attract a mate, it turns red. When it becomes afraid, it turns blue. So I wrote this poem. My snood. As Thanksgiving rolls around, let me show you I'm in the mood. Let me show you my snood. To start ourselves a brood. Don't let that offend you. I'm not being rude. It's the turkey way, so it's not crude. Why are you saying that I'm pursued? When these words, love words in your ears are being cooed? Who wants to prepare me to be chewed, with my leftovers stewed? How can people think of us as food, to be cooked up and consumed? Stop it, I'm not amused. Oh great, look at my snood thanks to you. I'm no longer in the mood to pursue. Shows my fear as it is now blue. I see that yours is too. How can we stop ourselves from becoming something people chew? If what you're saying is true, do you have that Halloween costume you went as a kangaroo? I have my cow costume, but I can't move. Would they kill us if we went to church and sat in a pew? Eating something with a waddle should be taboo. In times like this, God is my witness, I wish we flew. Which is a homage to WKRP, yeah. And then I'm going to read a poem that Deb Martin, who's a very activist here in Oshkosh, she asked me to write a poem about Transit Equity Day, which is in February, a long ways off. But I've been working on it, so I'm going to read it tonight. It's based on every day I would drive to work, and I would see a young lady with a kid going to the bus stop every day. So a ribbon runs through the city. Mother with her boy slung on her hip, slog over the road to the bus stop. Would we stand with her? His boots bang on her leg. The wind cuts at their cheeks. 5 after the hour comes quickly, yet the cold still seeps thoroughly. On those mornings so frigid that we let our cars warm. Is it 2 steps, one at the daycare, then a walk to the shelter? A wait for the next bus to work while we brave the winter chill with our windows down in the drive-thru to get our frappuccino? The world is too small for them. It's a ribbon through the city along the bus route. Without those humming, buzzing, beeping buses, the world would be so much bigger. Rain hangs. The rain hangs on the window screen like a cross-stitch of a gray day. Leaves drop to the mottled grass, lay overnight. Leaves drop to the mottled grass overnight, lay as smudges of orange and red, giving pattern to my lonely thoughts. As long as I found it, November. Napping before dinner, the tangerine sunset absorbed my dreams and left my insides to air dry. So tonight is not a good night to ask your question. All right, next up is James Hamilton. Please come on up. He's all over the state, traveling around, doing poems wherever he gets a chance.
I'm James, and I got some new stuff today, so I'm just going to jump right into it because I got 3 pieces for you. This one I wrote last week. It's called Small Talk. Nobody talks to me People don't say good morning anymore. They just nod as if to say, hey. It's like I'm not even there or here or any place, and I'm lonely. And I say nothing. I'm inverted and introverted, stiff, my blood acrylic and viscous lucidity, and I smile on purpose in microbursts that people can't even see. And loneliness hurts, but I'm not filled with pain. It's more like a hollow, a space or a pit or sinkhole, a void or vacuum space, and I find it hard to swallow. My mouth sandy dry, eyes bug-eyed, crop just short of over-fried. Fingers cracked and split from picking at my fingers and from picking on a multitude of other shit. And nobody talks to me. It's like I'm socially shedding skin, degrading, decaying in a softly shine state of leprosy. Everywhere, someplace, same as it ever was in my soup kitchen dreams, hovering over a cup of matzah or remnant root vegetable cream. And I know I might be hallucinating, revisiting my dreams, seeing illusions and blurred lines from a complicated world's complicated geometry in real time. I can hear unrecognizable loudness, decibels bellowed from crowds of one, and noise from the pigments of the trees, but I don't hear humanity calling because no one talks to me. And this one is untitled. I just wrote this one yesterday. It was weird because, like you were saying, you go out and you start looking at windows and stuff. I'm running a community center in Wapaka, a drop-in center for addicts to come in during the day, resource broker kind of place, hub, I guess is what they call it. And I go outside to have a cigarette, and like we were just talking about over there, you see something, your brain just starts wandering. You know, sometimes I got to write. That's just how it goes. So like the rest of the day is on hold until I finish that. Not conducive to successful work, employer-employee relationship, but nobody was there to watch. So here you go. So untitled. Standing on the street, looking around at buildings that have no depth, in perspective against the sky. Perception is one-dimensional, and I catch a transparent worm or two as they fly by. Are they light tricks or from blurry eyes? Are they even there? Do I see what it is I think I see? I'm logged into a reality, a model plain to stiffness and starched lucidity, one I do not understand. And stagnant, I can smell the colors at large, and I feel a breeze as it passes over my hand. And my fag smoke lifts in unison with its force, drifting away as if it knows its future, where to go, knows its course. And the sidewalk is as hot from the sun as my feet in these shoes, and the drops of sweat from my face hit the ground. Destination, evaporation, energy born to lose, in a different state, or never to be found again. Sand on the concrete, dirt in the street, dust and bugs on the bricks, splinters in the wood, rusted metal, polished glass, and plastic. Painted vehicles running hard against the flatness, people running slow, humanity creeping fast with their noses in their phones, socially communicating, playing games and shopping from the time they leave their homes, and even before that. I don't know how they don't see what I see. The static dimensionality, the flattened 3D, the picture perfect panorama, and the lives I've spotted through it that are anything but free. And then there's me. Thank you. So this last piece is from, so I've got 4 published books out there. This is from book 3, and somebody asked me to do this because they're watching your YouTube channel. So,
awesome.
And they said, I'd like you to.
They're the one.
Yeah, they're the one. They said, yeah. So this the guy actually bought the book, and then he bought the book and he rehearsed this and he read this poem to his girlfriend, and after he met her on their first date, and they're still together. So, but he said, he wanted to hear me do it. So, and I just don't do that. It's not like I'm going to just break it out in the grocery store. You know what I mean? So it's called Hey. Hey. I don't mean to objectify you, but you're so beautiful. I could see that plainly through and through. See, they say the eyes are windows to the soul, and behind your eyes I see you. I see where the real you glows, your mystery. I see your depth is precious, pressed, pressurized, alive like a diamond, a gemstone thrived. Your being creates my need. I think your spirit might be my muse key. You might just set me free. See, that's what I see when everyone else is reeling, taken back, set back on their heels, tripping forward or on their backs, all treble hooks snagged up by your look. Shit. I don't mean to objectify you, but you are fucking beautiful. Damn. I guess I am just blessed to see everywhere else more than all the rest, where you're full of natural force, of energy, inertia's tool, spinning infinity's rule. I see the kind over any cruel. You are a legion of feeling, of being, and I feel you. I feel your truth, your empathy, and I see you true. Thank you.
So that's James, of course, excellent example of what I always say is, well, that writing is so helpful because it's such a process that you start to connect things, even stuff you're not even aware of. But the poets do it better because and writers, we're training ourselves to be on the lookout for something that strikes us, and then we start to see the details, and then we do enough writing, and we have the vocabulary to really nail it and use the exact words and describe it better than anybody else. The next poet to come out to fame is to have the coolest dad ever. That's Jade Cannon. Come on up.
All right, this is my first poetry cafe thing that I've done, so I'm not really good at introducing the poems or anything. I hope the microphone can actually pick me up this time. Thank you. This first poem is titled "Devoured for Dinner." I see that slimy end, my past and now unending reverie. A swirling tongue traps a flopping form. Slurp, go down. This next poem is called Spread. Spread eagle for you, babe. You make a gray world red. Laying in the rain, honey, it ain't a crime scene, just some jam on bread. Got 1357 in me. Can't even keep you out of my heart. Wouldn't be the first time if you didn't drop your notes. Okay. Last one is called Estrange. I'm going to introduce this one. But with this one, I really wanted to try and focus on like a singular like experience or like feel, and use as much, just like have everything in the poem be try and be in tension with itself. I tandem bike a warm concrete hill crested. My thrifted UGG the white sheet slide descends.
Gary Shinoa is next up. Come on up, Gary. Gary's on Instagram as Gas Poetry, and it's a great place to go and see some poetry, some visual poetry.
First poem I'll read is called Sluice. This was published in the 2017 Wisconsin Poets Calendar. Sluice. There must be a lady in the radiator. No, not that nude chrome hussy on the hood, with her burnished arrogance, her hair and limbs streaming backwards, Medusa unfurled. Every night she gurgles up to him when he's 5 fathoms down in sleep. Each morning he pops the cap and peers into those lime green depths. Another shade and he might be on the beach in the Caribbean. The bright turquoise sea always washes her back to him, idle as a pebble in the hungry surf. Instead, he's certain she slips like an eel through coral narrow spaces. She wears corrosion on her bronze skin, a skimpy verdigris bikini. More than that, mere memory, more than mere fantasy, less than real life, flushed out between dreams. This one, I was watching St. Elsewhere, and one of the doctors was talking about sleep, comparing it to little snatches of death. Well, that started me thinking, and then I got Bill and Thomas's poem, "Do Not Go into the Gentle into the Night." And so I kind of borrowed a couple lines from one. The editor says, "Well, you're getting kind of close," but that's why I put with that. So it would be, they always say, with apologies too. So it's called Carpe Noctem. Apologies to Dylan Thomas. There is no anger in the night, no rage against the dying of light. Just these little snatches of death that descend to cloak the eyes of both foe and friend. But oh, what a cost for each moment that we spend in sleep. That's it.
Yeah, I love, especially that last. I really love that. And I met Gary a couple weeks ago at Book Fair in Fond du Lac, the North Fond du Lac Writers Club. We're kind of putting that on, and I got to speak with Gary for quite a while. He had some chapbooks and just books, poems he had published, spread out. It was a great conversation. I want to be like you, Gary. I want to keep experimenting, keep pushing the envelope, keep just trying to see where poetry can take you. And next up is Patrick McCorkle. Come on up, Patrick.
So I'm Patrick. I'm here, born and raised the 54901, pretty much a 1 mile radius from here. They get steady. Yes. So I just was reflecting on Veterans Day. Both my grandfathers fought, in World War II. There's some other military service, and I wrote this, kind of earlier today. I had it kind of percolating for a while, but I don't know. There's a title. Maybe the best thing would be "I Was Not There." So here it goes. So I was not there when you stared into the whites of British eyes at Bunker Hill, when you triumphed over Cornwallis at Yorktown. I was not there for the redcoat assault of our new White House, for the stars and stripes waving over Fort McHenry at dawn. I was not there while the Confederates surrounded and besieged Fort Sumter, while the Antietam Creek turned red with your blood. I was not there as you landed in Europe to fight the war to end all wars, as you pushed towards Berlin in the offensive of 100 days. I was not there for the day that lives in infamy, for the storming of Normandy's beaches. I was not there fighting with you in the forgotten Korean War, surviving ambushes in Vietnamese jungles. I was not there to march with you through the desert, to liberate Kuwait with you in the coalition. I was not there to struggle with you in the graveyard of empires, to fight hidden insurgents in the Fertile Crescent. But I am here because of you. And as long as I am, I shall remember you. And I have another kind of continuing the theme, if my phone would like to work. Usually, pretty much every year, I try to write some sort of reflection on Veterans Day because of the grandparents that I mentioned. If I can find it. I wrote, or this would be more in specific, specifically for my grandfather, who would have been 103 this year, I think, if he were still alive. So the title would be 100 Years of Grandpa Keith. A century ago, you were born. In childhood, the Depression took your home. In adolescence, familiar woes made you stop school. At 19, you were called to shatter the Axis. At 23, Uncle Sam called you home. Then, studying through meals and on shift breaks, securing your GED, master's, and PhD, getting snared by a real artiste, fathering 4 children, guiding up-teen pupils, enhancing history in England and France, remaining in Oshkosh, Oxford, and Wisconsin. 32 years ago, I met you. Then countless hours of racing around your old neighborhood on my big wheel, going to a store and picking out a reward locked behind the case, eating and gaming at Shakey's under the kaleidoscopic arcade lights, lessons in history, literature, politics, and philosophy at Menominee Park, activating my mind each meeting, pushing me to dream without end, showing me what I should do. 4 years ago, you left this world. 96 years were not enough. 3 decades together were not enough. No matter how much time passes, what the seasons bring, where I journey or live, I will never forget your lessons in the park while feeding the geese, your laugh in the dining room on Franklin Street, your final, ultimate words as you struggled to survive. Do not ever stop writing, and write I will until my final breath. For you, educator, veteran, warrior, survivor, dad, grandpa, biker, friend. Happy 101st birthday, Grandpa Keith. And my final poem here is inspired by a workshop that the poet laureate of Oshkosh ran. It was simply to write about a color, and sometimes having a very precise target helps me quite a bit. So this would be a kind of a novel sort of based in the fantasy world that I'm writing. Its simple title is Purple. Purple is majesty, preemptive action, sweeping reaction, defying faction, correctness gaining traction. Purple is rule through famine or feast, across west and east, of greatest and least, of man, plant, and beast. Purple is ruler, chosen for life, facing problems rife, avoiding killer's knife, defined by strife. Who will don the color? The existence maulers who cast all into squalor, the conservation scholars who are preservation brawlers, through pages of thick tome, discover, uncover the possessor of purple and throne. Thank you.
The poem I wrote for that workshop, I think it was Grass is Green. So you really let your imagination run wild, Patrick. Yeah, and thanks for. And I always keep saying that poetry is a new way to share our histories. I think it's a great way of doing that, and I think it's also a valuable thing to do. I like to do that as well because you think about it and you're kind of reliving it. You're thinking about your grandpa. You're savoring it, and then you're going back and you're revising it. And you're savoring it. Now tonight you get to savor it, and we get to enjoy it, and you also get to teach us about somebody who's lived a life that is it's rich. Okay, and now we have Joyce. Joyce, come up. Joyce, Ron, you remind me that we do have fragments of the anthology. I got it put in the hometown pharmacy, and Joyce is in that. Joyce and I have known each other for a long time.
I started out life as a biologist, as I think you'll guess from this one. A twisted place. Wind and water shape the strength of a tree planted by deep water. A stick horse bobs in the shallows, waiting for a mer-child. Old moss colonizes the land in shelves, forgetting the perils evolution taught its descendants, the old twisted willow. And you're mentioning a color poem. Well, this is one called Blue and Blue. It was also a long time ago about writing about a color. Robin's eggs, bathroom tiles, and the feathers in my mother's collection of found things. They lead me back to one day, a spring day in the spring of my life. It was May, that may have been March, the day my brother and I went barefoot for the first time. We were beating the bounds, we called it, looking for adventure. Under the big oak tree in the front yard, we looked for eggshell fragments to brighten my mother's day. We found instead a dead robin, nest debris that had been hope of a new generation. Its bill was soft and flexible, its claws already sharp. I remember the prickle of flight feathers, not yet formed. The eyes behind fetus solid eyelids were as blue as its eggshell had been, and as empty as the sky. It weighed a feather's weight and taught the heavy knowledge of death. Our first funeral. And if you think we have time for a third, I would have one. This one is called Dark Cross. A moss-covered cross. I like it that way. Ancient hieroglyphics left by martyrs long ago. There is a beauty in things of man returning to nature. A light lichen sprinkle improves a grave angel. Moss growing on a tombstone softens tragedy of lost child, never named, only baby.
Thank you, Joyce. Those are great. Kind of a way to powerfully end those poems. What kind of person would I be that Joyce, you come to open mics, you've been loyal, and I'm like, no, just two. I got to get home. I have a couple more, and I'll begin with one that I think I probably hate. Roadblock. On the road heading out of town, it wasn't long before I turned around. The horizon beckoned in the distance, and nothing gave any resistance. The chime of old clocks set atop imaginary roadblocks rang fierce and venerating. Enough, though one was, and even though no one was waiting, I headed back into town. And this is after the farmer's market. The rumble of the farm truck echoes in the four-story arena of our downtown. The waft of fried egg rolls dissipates, plastic bags mingled with down leaves as blue canopies collapse. People pulling canvas wagons walk to their cars. This is a simple one. Box fan. A box fan in a dark room cancels out time. Blades chopping air, pushes the present away, cocoons us within a current of forgotten whispers. And my final one is called Glitter Angels. It's actually about, I think it's the last time that we went out to a bar with my mother-in-law. We were at the beer garden and downtown. I didn't know it was going to be the last probably time we hung out with her. It was with my wife, my daughters, my mother-in-law, and of course, being a guy, I was studying some of the women around. But so this is Glitter Angels. Glitter Angel, stained wings on her back, yells to the bouncer, "What bar am I at?" Glass waif shows a swath of belly, her low-ride pants, the shore of a calm lake. Emptiness rumbles below. Bar maiden, dressed like a wife rekindling a marriage, smiles, big hair, big eyes. Her slinky black dress covers beauty like the dark heavens over meadows. Sunflower sprite teeters and falls into drunkenness. She sits against her friend, her eyes closed, until she leans forward and pukes on the gravel below. So you can show the mother-in-law a good time. James, you want to come back up?
So this is a story, and it's about 5 minutes long, but we got time, right?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. So I call this I'll give a disclaimer, like, I'm gonna cuss, and it's gonna be, but the main disclaimer, and I said this on Monday night at Akoka, this shit happens every day. Everything in here happens every day. So, it's called Beat Street Blues. People in this city know the blues, and people in this city move. Commuting, bustling, over tire busting, pothole pocked asphalt pass, adjacent runoff sewers and past corner preaching sociopaths. And people in this city walk over and through endless shadows peeled from the sun, traversing cracked concrete and chipped remnants of crumbled creamy brick, amongst jet noise and traffic-fueled urban grooves, past window panes filled with fractured glass and asbestos tile siding, and past abandoned summer porches and condemned and eviction signing. And they shake from the cold wind and the damp feet and their dopeless sick and the waft of shit and garbage ever thick. And people in this city use bootleggers peddling cognac H oxy buses and uppity rouge, and they fire up roseless glass menageries using copper-toned chorboy as a wick, over and over till their heads are numb before ending up in a stairwell on one end or another of a porno graffiti trick. That's life in this city, and it's hard living in this city. And there's a house over there on the corner at the end of the block, 1111 Beat Street, where junkies come and go, turnstile tripping on concrete and ice and snow, in acrid zombie action, velicated in fatal distraction. And the why is a why they don't even know. They have pores filled with junk, noses bleeding with MRSA disease, Hep C and HIV, bed bugs in their coats and fleas in their bones, inner city blued tapestries fighting the Jones. And rage rings, and violence bellows. Through tin-foiled panes, loudly twisting bad things, always in the dark though, securing dank, deviled dreams. And there's darkness in the alleyways until dawn breathes into a lighter shade of gray, daylight and wet mist, an urban fabric like chemically enhanced weathered herringbone twist, providing cover like a blanket, or the distraction they need to get back home. But there ain't no home behind a rusted green dumpster with the rats and the trash and the half-tailed cats, waste management in rusted steel vats, covered in blood-spattered paint, frozen there in place before it dried, next to where that self-medicating schizophrenic chick died last week, and nobody noticed, till she was frozen to the ground, and the coroner threw up when he found what he found. Her name was Selena, and they say she was lost or was missing, and nobody cared. See, out here, sometimes life is the cost for this life, for running the race, shit-faced and out of place. And the others, the vagabonds and the hustlers and the afflicted left over, they will all get there sometime to that house on the corner at the end of the block, 1111 Beat Street, or somewhere. See, dope always sells in the city, and the pushers can be the doctors and the clinics and the pharmacies. Corporations create customers, not cures. Psychotropic, hopeful, pill-popping, demon-dropping, antidepressant misery to the woeful. Anxiety, keep them dopeful or in a pharmacological K-hole, and nobody cares. It's hard living in this city, and it's cold living in this city. And Jamie's in the city, pronoun her, living 3 up from the house on the corner at 1111 Beat Street. Living, sure. Peeled lead, shaven splinters, shady green aesthetic, weathered, worn, and moldy facade, plywood boarding up the holes on its face, scarred up look, a pathetic, putrid fucking place. And it's night still, and the power is off there. Extension cord bridges window to window from the neighbors, and the heat is off there. And her bones feel old. The painstakingly poignant pain sapping what is left of her will. And a dog barks chained up in the back, pit bull watching somebody's stash. And she stays there locked inside that place because she has nowhere to go. So she hides alone, smoking a bitch fashioned out of a chicken bone she found in the yard. and she cries, and she pushes it away 1,000 tries. Sucking cock to keep herself high, recollecting with a whimper and a battle-hardened sigh how she got here. See, they couldn't catch her with the dope, so they lifted the walls, analyzed the smoke, and then they took her kids, the children, those pieces of her, and for their protection, said she was detrimental, a hazard like an infection to them, contributing to their delinquency. So she was left there alone with her habit, and nobody cared. Yeah. And people in this city police, right? They circumvent probable cause, canines don't follow laws, cops violating rights, stop and frisk, racial profiling, chanting they all mitigating risk, trying to keep us safe. Illegal search and seizure tricks, handing out felonies like parade candy to the poor and the sick. And then again, and then some more. Yeah. People in this city are there living in that fucked up diorama, and the people are scared. Scared of the crimes of other men, carjackings, home invasions, battery. Scared for their children, mass shootings in the schools. Scared of what they can't see, overdose, heart attacks, and that fucking deep freeze. Scared of the Glock tucked away, hidden in the crotch of the street's only standing tree. And yeah, people are scared of those police, and maybe they should be. Truth. People in this city grind every day doing what they do, grooving to the sounds of the city, grooving on Beat Street, grooving to the blues. Thank you.
That's great. And just to tip my toes into that poetry, you know, how the poems are written and you're supposed to stop and reflect. I stop and reflect, and then I'm like, okay, I still have to move on. But I can spend some time with fleas in their bones, and I can spend a lot of time. Yeah, I mean that's something you can really think about and has an impact. And of course, handing felonies out like candy at the parade.
I call this pair Mustang poems. They both based a little bit on experience. The second one a little more so. First one is called Pedestrian Pause. She was gone in a Mustang minute, but it was a blur of color, a flash of blue eyes, but it was enough for him to realize that 20 years ago he was too slow to catch her. And now she's nothing but a brief, dry dream. And the second poem is called, I remember the title of it here. It's called Muscle Memory. Mustangs have stance, but if you ever get the chance to ride inside going 127 miles an hour, you won't shout for more, just white knuckle the door while your crazy brother punches the pedal to the metal all the way to the floor.
This is called Foggy Morning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain of Thought Air Flight 375. The mind we are attempting to reach is fogged in. All connecting thoughts, in or out, have been canceled. Since we were already in the holding pattern when the mind fog occurred, we will continue to circle and hope for an opening. We are sorry for any inconvenience this may have caused you, and thank you for flying Thought Air.
So I have a lot for my generation. There's obviously I was among the millennials, got Facebook, got social media. Plus the addiction has been very apparent for me and my friends. So I have a title of a poem inspired by I think it was an article maybe on Slate or something, where it was to glee fresh or to doom scroll. You turn on the device, radio, TV, computer, smartphone, tablet. The medium differs. The messages do not. Political polarization, environmental degradation, mass shootings, international warfare. Turn away you cannot, despite how awful the sights, sounds, feelings, and conclusions. Endless segments, stories, shows, such as to doom scroll or doom surf. You tell yourself to check out, but you can never seem to leave. Yet there is a way to replace the destructive drive of tech,
and the addiction to despair and death, tune your radio, scan the channels, surf the net, searching for happiness and love, one segment, story, or show at a time. Such is the Glee Fresh. You don't need to check out, and you certainly don't need to leave. And as I think a final poem here, more kind of on the more optimistic end, it's something I wrote for Labor Day. It's entitled Labor Day Round 136. First celebrated in the Beaver State 136 years ago, Labor Day recognizes what we owe to workers who fought battles great, to give wages good and fair, to create hours not so long, to prevent treatment wrong, to scare bad bosses everywhere. Over a century later, it may seem most victories that were won have been undone. Our workplaces are no dream. Labor and skill replaced, college degrees diluted, workplace complaints muted, fair wages erased. We must build upon the labor titans of the past. The status quo must not last. Let us craft a new labor dawn. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. So, yeah, doom scrolling is evil, but if you're going to do it, go to Facebook, connect with James Hamilton. On Instagram, go to Gas Poetry. Go to Oshkosh Poet Laureate. Go to YouTube, Thomas Cannon Author. Go to thomascannonauthor.com. Thank you, New Moon, for hosting us. Beautiful place. Thank you guys for coming tonight. I really appreciate it.